All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. What is this background? This thing is going crazy. Let's get some Taylor photos in here. That previous background was crazy. Welcome, everybody, to the Stoned Fruit Roll-Up every Thursday here on YouTube and also on LinkedIn at 12 noon. That's high noon Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about all things wild and wonderful along the entrepreneurial journey and channel our big friend energy for exciting content development where we all get to play in the sandbox. And today is our second annual 420 High Holy Dayz celebration. There are only very few times in which us affable stone fruitsters talk about our stoner roots, and it is on 420, and it would not be a 420 High Holy Dayz celebration without my creative collaborator, friend in the work, and serious stone fruitster, Taylor Kampia, who I will now bring out to the stage as we cascade together across your cherry backdrop. Taylor, womp, 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 womp. It's 420, girl. It's 420. Welcome back to the Stone Fruit Roll-Up. This is an exciting moment for me because I've seen so much of your creativity come to the spotlight in the last year, and this is what we're here to talk about today. We're stone cute creatives in cannabis unite, in which you and I are going to vibe for the next hour or so about our relationship as business buds, and I mean that on both levels. Welcome, Taylor.
You are the queen of a turn of phrase. I swear, Rebecca. I'm still like chuckling over big friend energy. I'm like, okay, yeah, I got that.
Well, that's what it feels like here with you. For anyone who does not know Taylor, she's a triple threat, as we say. She's a world renowned, and that may just be our world, but it is world renowned portrait photographer and documentarian who does incredibly engaging work. If you've seen any photographs here around Stone Fruit, whether it's the cherries you see behind us all over our website, or photographs of me and Janine and all of the things, we have Taylor to thank. And also she wears another very fine hat, maybe more of a Stetson 10-gallon hat or a top hat, as she is the co-founder and CEO over at Make a Scene Media. And you guys bring impact work to the main stage, and you had a lot of really cool projects come up. So maybe you want to plug a little something. Do you have something you'd like to plug for Make a Scene Media or Taylor K Photo before we get into our connected conversation? Yes,
I do actually. But first of all, I have a hat preference. It's a party hat. That's definitely the hat I'm bringing. So.
The conical one with the string under your chin.
I don't know. I think maybe like the New Year's ones, you know what I mean? That have like the brim around them, but they're like little mini.
Yeah. Like have you read your girls Go Dog Go?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Do you like my hat? I do not like that hat.
I do not like that hat. But anyways, no. So yeah, thank you for that amazing intro. I appreciate that. Yeah. So we do a lot of work in the video space. So basically anything where there is video production, video editing, video strategy. My company, Make a Scene Media, is there to do that. And actually, I'm glad that you asked if I had anything to plug, because I do. We are excited to be part of a program. It's a grant program called the Fairfax Thrive Technical Assistance Program.
And Fairfax, really Virginia, cool, for our Fairfax, international friends.
And if you are in Fairfax, Virginia, so this is a little bit of very niche plug for those watching in Fairfax, Virginia. But if you don't live in Fairfax and your county doesn't have a program like this, you should talk to your county, because this is incredible. They're giving out $10,000 in grants that will be used for technical assistance services. So everything from a new website, graphic design, a video, HR consulting services, security. Like, I mean, pretty much anything that you might need to like a small sort of contract for, they're giving out these $10,000 grants, and they
So like a
are.
public-private partnership to facilitate community building and build capacity for both the nonprofit and also the kind of business community. And
It's actually just business community. It's not nonprofit at all. It's specifically for the business community. And what's cool is,
okay.
yeah, so they have a group of coaches that works with the small businesses once they sort of get accepted into the program. That coach helps them to decide what service they might need, and then matches them with a consultant that's been sort of, in from their pool of consultants. And we're in that pool of consultants. So what's really cool is, you know, video is used for so many things now. I mean, it can really do, anything communication wise. If you don't have a video to go along with it, you're really missing some opportunities, because video raises money, it raises awareness, it builds connection, grows your audience, it elevates your brand. I mean, it does
How does it do
everything.
let's get into it, girl. How does it do that actually? I mean, we
Yeah.
say that and everybody's like, yeah, video, there's a picture's worth 1,000 words, but you're a deep thinker. How does it work? How is it building an emotional connection? Or
It's
maybe
a
that's the
multi
answer.
I mean, because it's a multi-sensory experience, right? And I think that as human beings, we are evolutionarily sort of designed to be multi-sensory. We sort of see, we hear, we feel, we intuit, right? And the more information that we have, the better we can intuit a situation, the better we can read into it, the better we can see how that resonates with us. So with,
Let's get into it. That's your new
so
tagline.
let's get into it. So, but like if you're reading a text, really all you have to go on is sort of your imagination, and what do the words on the page inspire your brain to see? So your brain actually kind of has to do a lot of its own work to figure out what's happening there. If you're listening to something, right? I think actually listening maybe is a little bit easier to make a connection to, which is why podcasts are doing so well, because you can actually hear a lot. There's a lot of sensory information just in the sound of someone's voice. You can hear tone, inflection. There's a lot to sort of pick apart, and you can communicate a lot just with, changing inflection, tone of voice, things like that. But now when you add a video to it, now you've added that sort of that extra sensory visual perspective, where you can show things, you don't even have to say them. And I was actually just talking about this earlier on another podcast,
No,
about
it's a
how
full-time job being popular.
it is, yeah. No, but it was about how people, they need to, if someone can figure something out for themselves, if somebody can feel like they've watched something and they've come into a conclusion on their own that hasn't necessarily been spelled out to them in words, it's easier almost to buy into it, because it's like the authenticity of like your own discovery of that is so powerful. And I'll give you the example here. So we were talking to these website developers, and they were saying how they work with this organization or this business where they wanted to show the culture in the organization was about community, and it wasn't like top down and the boss is the boss and everybody, sort of hierarchical. The way that they did that was just on the about page about the company. The way that they list the employees is not by hierarchy. The CEO is not at the top. It doesn't have the biggest headline, right? It's all mixed in together. Everybody kind of has their own play in it. And I just realized my camera died. I'll fix it. So yeah, hold on one second.
Yeah, no worries.
We're live. That's what happens when you go live.
Oh my
right?
God. Well, first of all, it's the 420 episode. This is when you can come casual. Today I've come casual. This is when your webcam can go in and go out, because we're all about a connected conversation and not about the polish of, the polish and the pressure. That's the name of my new podcast, The Polish and the Pressure.
The pressure.
You did it. You did it.
I did it. Quick change. Quick change. That's what we call it in the dance world, a quick change.
Quick change. Dance break. Yes. All right. So when last we left our heroes, you were telling us about some brand storytelling that was around breaking, I think, breaking perception of hierarchy and creating a more inclusive and accessible feel within a company based on the visual storytelling.
Yeah,
Is
just
that what?
exactly. How much could you tell about that company just by the fact that they didn't lead with their CEO first on their website? What do you intuit from that? And do you trust that feeling more than if they sent out a letter to you? Here, we take all of our employees seriously. We really care about the feelings of,
Oh my
what
God, your announcer voice of like stereotypical corporate BS is amazing.
it's like I've heard it a lot.
You absolutely heard a lot. From many moons ago in an old iteration, I did some copywriting for this very interesting woman who, well, shout out to Verb in Baltimore. And what they do is they design workspaces. And there's so much of what you're saying came out within their work as well of, if your organization its core values is, accessible leadership and the power of the water cooler conversation, and then I design you an office that's cubicles where leadership is down a hallway, we have completely broken brand.
Yeah.
And in some way, it seems like what you're saying is, I guess, and the opposite can also be true. We can reinforce brand by visuals. And I love what you said, like such a powerful observation about we internalize things that we've discovered on our own versus someone who's just kind of wobbed it from the podium.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can say we hire a diverse, group of people, but if you
Oh
actually
my
see a
God, I
picture of
know.
the
And then you
office
go to the team,
and you're like,
page, and it's like vanilla, 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 ding, vanilla, 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 ding.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's about walking the walk, I think.
Yeah. And I'm not, and I think that it's about the continuation of that messaging across all platforms, right? So yeah, like you have to say it, you have to show it, you have to do it. And so I feel like, what's exciting about, if they haven't done the work with you to sort of understand really what those core values are or what that messaging is, then they can't create a cohesive thing that's that works across all of their platforms. They're going to be creating piecemeal items that sort of work on their own, but as a whole, you're like,
They're
what
not
does that matter?
synergistically, let me just drop a bunch of words. Synergy, intersectionality, holistic, unification. I couldn't agree more. I also would contribute that it requires you to think about brand as less as not just like the logos we demonstrate, the colors we have, the fonts we're committed to, the pictures, the stock photos we use. I think that if you really embrace the mindset that brand is your reputation brought to life in words, actions, and images, how are you bringing those to life? You still need to show the actions and,
Mhm.
and the images itself. So it's really about documenting walking the walk. But there are a lot of, there are a lot of folks out there who document walking the walk and can put together a cogent and compelling video. But you have a gift. You have a gift for the way that you edit things and your storytelling. And that's what I'd love to really get in the mind of Taylor Kampia about is like, how do you make this editing decisions in which you're just able to create such an immediate emotional connection? I mean, I'm blowing skirt up your like virtual skirt. I'm blowing smoke. Hilarious. It's our 420 episode. I'm blowing smoke up your virtual skirt. And it's absolutely true that anytime you've shown me a clip or something or a little sizzle reel, it's just like, it's just like gets me right in the feels, and that's more than documentation. What's your secret, lady?
I mean, it's not really a secret. It's that you just try to stay as close to the story as possible. You let the story sort of
How do you know what
be.
the How do you know what the story is? That's a
You
big question
listen.
mark.
You listen. That here's the thing.
Oh,
The story is the story. It's not my story. Again, if anybody who's seen me talk, like I say this all the time, where like I don't think I'm a storyteller. I'm not telling somebody else's story. I'm listening to their story and then I'm just packaging it in a way that I know is going to get the most impact. It's
Oh, an
still their
artist.
story.
An
It's
artist.
it's still their story. And as long as we've done our jobs really well, then that story is accurately and authentically and ethically translated. And
But do you
that
have to
has its
admit
own
there's some
power.
there's a 28 grams of intangible something.
Okay,
Even you
sure.
have to.
So yeah, so of course, right, but that's the foundation, right? Like yes, there are bells and whistles that we know how to add on to a video, like really beautiful music, like and choosing when are we using an orchestral, strings-based score versus like a light piano touch versus like, hey, clapping, everybody's joining in, sort of like background music. So it's like there is a little bit of that, which of course, again, and this is that multi-sensory experience. You're understanding with your brain what the words are saying and what people are telling you. Your emotions are being stirred, your olfactory glands being, I don't know, no, that's your smell. But whatever, your senses are being stirred by the music. You can actually feel vibrations, so there's that. Then there's also just color, right? So, but that's where the brand work of the organization comes in. If you've already done a good job of understanding color theory and like font and like, you're using um, things that are, again, build that cohesive look and feel for your organization, then when we put it into that piece, it just syncs. It just all works. It works together. So again, but the foundation of us and why I think our stories work is that number one, we've tried to be authentic to the actual story as possible because that is the most interesting thing. Like we worked in reality TV for a really long time, and so we know how to take a story and make it the most over the top version of that story possible. And I think
Well,
that we've
how do you do that? How do you actually do it? How is the sausage made? How do
in
you
the
take the
reality TV world,
no,
is it
if that's how you want to frame it, sure, or how you do it, but you were obviously taking the story and amplifying it as big as possible. Like, how does a creative person actually do that?
it's about, again, it's about picking the bites, and it's about how you sort of weave that story together, right? And if you're doing it in a reality TV format, you're picking bites and you don't care what order you put them back into, right? Like you could tell a story that, actually happened, you could tell a story ABC like this and say that that's how it went down, but actually C happened first and it was a really huge blow up and then they ended up great, but they could make that totally opposite so that it ends on a cliffhanger and you think that they ended on a fight, you know? But that's like the exact opposite of what we do now, where it's like we want to show again that authenticity, exactly how someone has conveyed the story to us. We want someone else to be able to hear the story in the same
But
way.
you don't always start. I've seen your work before. You don't always start with like, and day one.
No,
Sometimes it'll be like the reveal and the like, choo-choo, and then it leads you into watching more. Like that's the hook. How do you
that's it. Yeah.
identify? How do you identify what the hook is? How do you figure out how to weave that story? And how do you build suspense? How do you show stakes?
Every project is different, right? Like we were just at a groundbreaking. We do a lot of groundbreakings for one of our affordable housing nonprofits. And a lot of the videos we do, that moment where they cut the ribbon or they put the shovel in the ground, that's the moment everybody's waiting for. Everybody's clapping, everybody's so happy. There's like a big feeling and a rush of energy that just happens in that first moment. Well, that's a great moment to start on, because if you're scrolling and all of a sudden you see a bunch of people cheersing and some dirt flying, you're gonna be like, "Ooh, what is that? That's interesting." And now you're gonna maybe stick around to see the whole story. Well, we
How
did
do
a lot
you
of it.
how do you know what is the curiosity to capture or capitalize on?
Well, that
What's
comes from just experience in like television and watching content and like, hearing hearing a network executive and at like one of the major networks one time tell us at a production company I worked at, you know, just put melting cheese in as many scenes as you can, because our researchers showed us that when you put melting cheese on the television, people stop scrolling. So we need melting cheese. And I'm like, okay. But like, it's like, it's, I've heard a lot of
That would be a
conversations
cool
about like
company name, actually.
melting cheese. Yeah.
Yeah, like a production company or something. That would be a cool
Melting,
name.
melting cheese TV. I like it.
Oh my God, that just rolls off the tongue. That just stone fruit rolls up off the tongue. I'm gonna have to workshop that. Well, so I still contend that there's some sort of like 28 grams artistic mystery that you can't possibly explain of how you discern. I get it, like experience, practice, being in the industry, I'm swimming in that environment, but there's still a creativity here at play that I don't think is you can duplicate by being like, well, once you have all the foundational pieces and you have all those together and the puzzle comes together, there's still whatever, I don't know, what's that concept where like
Well,
you break a cup and the gold filling is the actual value. There's something in
cut.
between.
What is that? I'm not gonna butcher it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Whatever that is.
I think for a creative, especially when a creative has taken their passion and like monetized it into a business,
This
it can
classic
be
America.
classic America, right? It can be really easy to find a product that you're good at and stick at that product and treat it like a product and just repeat it, right? Because everybody, especially when you start a business, everybody tells you you have to franchise your business, treat it like a franchise, treat everything the same and automate, make sure everything happens in a certain way, right? But if you're in a creative space, you really have to fight against that in some ways, especially when you're dealing on these projects. And I think that we're able to do that. So even though we might do 6 groundbreakings and grand openings a year, we're still treating every single one as unique as the building that is being put up in that, video. We kind of get out of the idea, okay, it's a grand opening video. Okay, but what is unique about this project? What is the calling card of this day? What happened in this moment? What about this building or this place is the thing? And every project is going to be different, and I think that we kind of go into every one with an open mind. I think that a lot of people go and production with it, and that works for some people. I come from the world of more reality documentary where I don't want a script. I never had a script. And I think that sort of like ties me down. So I like to go in with fresh eyes, let the moment speak for itself, come back and say, all right, what was the magic that happened that day? That's what we start with. That's what we show.
I mean, I think that's awesome. It really also aligns with how I write generally. I don't want to know anything in advance. I don't go out and do a bunch of research on purpose. I want a total blank slate. I don't want to regurgitate what people have already done or said.
Yeah.
Jill says about me, if someone else has done it before, then you don't even want to touch it, which is true, which is kind of a pain in the butt. If you're so committed to originality and innovation and disruption that like you constantly have to reinvent yourself. So that could go a little too far, I would say. But your approach of letting the scene and the story speaks for itself and then kind of looking to make an emotional connection. I'm still going to push you on the artistry factor of it because I think that's the thing that none of us can describe. How does it happen? How do you, Rebecca, come up with a turn of phrase that happens? If I was you turn the tables on me and ask me how I come up with writing, I'd be like, it's just what shows up in my head when I deeply think about the topic and what needs to be communicated here. Generally, if I'm constructing something, I've got something up on like the crafting table. I'm thinking, what if I had just a single person, just a beautiful Taylor Kampia across from me right now, and we're just like sharing, a humble tapas and some mineral water. What would I want to tell you? So I really think like, if it's just me and another person, how would I frame this story versus the way that we always kind of think things need to be seen or need to be read or need to be constructed because that's how we've always done it. But it does require like again, kind of reinventing the wheel or doing something new and fresh every time. but I also think that that is truly your value. I'd like to take a moment and shout out our friends in the comments. Welcome, Shub, who says hello, ma'am. Could be either one of us. And also Tony springing in from Silver Spring on our 420 episode of Stone Fruit Roll-Up. You are watching us either on YouTube or live on LinkedIn or in the replay. Tony wants to know, Taylor, what do you want to achieve next? Excellent question.
World peace.
I don't think that's too far off. Like, you're being glib, but I actually think that is what you want to achieve next. Like, can we just talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm reading the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Have you read this?
I have it in my cart of things I need to absorb in my free time. I haven't read it, but a lot of people are talking about it.
It's great because it really, for me, it kind of does sort of showcase a lot of my life and kind of why certain things have happened the way they have, because it really talks about how a lot of us who get to a level of success but kind of have a hard time breaking through that, or maybe having more success than generationally our parents have. Why do we get stuck in these sort of same levels of happiness and success generation after generation? And it's that we've sort of put these subconscious self-imposed upper limits on our lives, and we keep sort of making decisions and perpetrating behaviors that keep us in this sort of safe but stunted level of growth. And so this book is all about sort of recognizing where in your life are you having those, where are you keeping yourself small? Where are you putting this limit on yourself? And it helps you so one of the questions it asks, it's what makes you happy? What are you really good at? If money was no object, if time and expectation were no object, what is the thing that you would get up and do every single day, right? And I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and just trying to I don't know. I don't have any necessarily answers, but one of the things that I just keep finding in all of the jobs I've had throughout my life and all of the roles I found myself in, it's always in a role where I've needed to talk to people, understand them, try to have empathy and compassion for them, and then help others understand that as well. And
damn, girl, you Dr. Phil'd yourself.
I don't know. I mean, I all of the jobs I've ever had have always been in this role. Customer service.
It's not easy to pull back and have that perspective, though, of where the common threads in your career, and how beautiful that allows you to have a springboard. As long as you're satisfying those three qualifiers, the world is that's your perfect storm or your perfect formula, that you could do anything you wanted as long as you were satisfying those three things.
Yeah.
That's really neat. I want to share a story about my sister Taya. I hope she doesn't mind if I share this story about the idea that you're sharing of the kind of things that we unconsciously do that are and our brain constantly playing tricks on us to keep us safe by wanting to do things in known quantities. I recently took a road trip to Pittsburgh with my sister Taya, who lives in Oregon. Taylor did our family photos, and it was so sweet. And Taylor really helped my sister overcome some insecurities that she's been feeling through the aging process, which has been awesome. So not only do you get the world's finest photograph, but you get the experience of seeing yourself in a way that feels compassionate and empowering. So good for you, girl. I can't wait for those to come out. Anyway, so Taya, she owns her own home in Bend, Oregon, and her story around her home is it's fine. That has kind of been her approach with it. It's fine. It's a good investment. It's a lovely property. It's got its pros and it's got its cons. It's not the ideal dream house that she'd want, nestled in the Oregon, high desert with some sort of nature and not very many neighbors, but she's found herself kind of in a cul-de-sac of like, it's fine. And what she revealed on our road trip was that it's actually, and I was shocked because I didn't even see it, the layout of her house is actually the layout of the house we grew up in. Exactly the same, like almost to like a T. And it was just such a profound moment of like, that's all I thought I was made for. There's just this moment of like, that's all I thought was available to me. That if I could just, arise to the level of my family home, like it would be fine. And then all it was it's fine. I was such an enemy of it's fine. Like why why you're gonna buy a house? Why buy it's fine? But you don't even know when you're making those choices. You're like, this feels comfortable. This feels safe. I understand this scenario. I understand it. And then you're in it. And it's like, dang, why didn't I go for why didn't I take more time and dream bigger? And that has to do, I think, with what you're talking about of just kind of walking in known rooms with known quantities and feeling safe.
They talk about it in terms of your zone of genius versus your zone of excellence.
I've been using Zone of Genius for a long time, and I just learned about Zone of Excellence.
Yeah.
Share with the Stone Fruit audience the difference between the two.
Right? I'm living in my zone of genius. I feel really good about myself. But actually, that's the thing keeping you small, where you're like, okay, I'm doing this thing, I'm good at it, I make money at it, and I'm successful, but still there's some piece that that's not working, right? What is it? But that's how that transition from this place to your zone of excellence, where it doesn't feel like work, it's easy. I mean, he says in the book, if it feels like work, it's not your zone of excellence. You're not there. And so it's like every day making choices of like, how do I get to that feeling of like, this doesn't feel like work? And some of it is changing your life to make sure that everything is contributing to that zone of excellence. But some of it's a mindset shift. Some of it's all mindset, right?
I think almost everything is all mindset. Like no matter how competent you are and how confident, if you don't have the right mindset, you're always choosing the single family rancher you grew up in.
Yep.
You're always making that choice. There's something that my girl Kylie Peters talks about a lot over at Ray 9. Shout out to her, which is defining, like taking the time to define what success means to you. If you have not done that piece, if you're not defined what success means to you, then you're going to continue getting the single family 3-bedroom 2-bath rancher that you grew up in. So to your point of like restructuring your life, if you need to, understanding your zone of excellence, but I also would contend you have to really start and decide, am I playing out someone else's version of success, which is something I feel victim to or have throughout my professional journey. I've been like, hustle, 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 build the thing, get an agency, get A+ clients, like, and then not even realizing maybe what you really want is to work 3 to 5 hours, X amount of days and then take big breaks in between. But if you never take the time to be like, I value alone time and creativity, and then you're building this huge team that depends on you, that can really set yourself up for some failure. So I just want to add that I think that it has to be pitted against the idea of what success looks like for you. What does success look like for you, girl? What does success look like for you?
I mean, well, first of all, I love that, because that is my number one piece of advice to anyone looking for a job, especially young people. Don't think about the job you want, think about the life you want, right? Like, are you okay working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but then Friday night through Sunday, you have all of this free time and extra money because you're working a good paying job to do whatever the hell you want, to travel, to party, to whatever it is? Or do you not want that lifestyle? Do you want to have your mornings free and wake up late and leisurely sip some coffee, and then you don't mind working late till late hours, right? Well, if that's the kind of lifestyle you want, don't find a job that has you starting at 7 a.m. in an hour away. You're going to be miserable.
Early.
Find a job that's on the night shift. But if you haven't, like you said, you haven't done the work to say, I'm not a morning person, I can't have a job in the morning, that's okay. And I think that we are constantly living under this expectation that there's a right way to life.
That's
right?
there's only one right way as a pillar of white supremacy. So anytime I see it, I'm like, nope, there's many ways to do it. And I think it's fear that keeps us from making those choices. I'll never find a job that lets me sleep until 2 o'clock in the afternoon and be up all night. No one's ever going to hire somebody who wants to work from home in their pajamas. Who's going to watch a show about being a stoner at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, April 19th on the Stone Fruit Roll-Up with Taylor Kampia and Rebecca Gunter? Woo! That's fear. That's fear. So you don't try something new.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how you keep yourself small over and over again with those decisions. And it's about recognizing too that we talk about the zone, the window of tolerance, right, for pain, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's a window of tolerance actually for happiness that every person, that's individual to every person. If you have trauma or childhood trauma, then your window of tolerance for happiness is actually pretty small. And so what happens is if you get too happy, your brain actually is like, no, 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 this is not good. And
Yeah.
so what happens is if you're a highly anxious person like I am, then the anxious thoughts start to bring you right back down to here. Like you might have just had a huge amount of success, but it's like, yeah, but now I have to worry about how I'm gonna, where's that, how I'm gonna pay my taxes, and now I'm gonna have to do this, and and then you brought back down.
It's talking you completely out of it.
We're constantly
So
bringing ourselves back.
using those feelings for a springboard, you have to work through them. Like you can't hide from them. In fact, if you do hide from them, they get way more intense and you start internalizing them. I'm bad at money. I'm never going to be able to figure out my taxes. Oh, I have too much anxiety. I can't manage like looking for clients. And maybe that's true, or maybe it's not. But when you start to internalize that stuff, it keeps you just in this like box, just being afraid. And I think that sucks.
Yeah.
I think that sucks for people. So if you can kind of make peace with the Lord, make peace with your feelings, make peace with fear, then you can use
also
them
make
as a...
peace with happiness is the point too. Because
Say more about that.
Because again, if you can recognize, okay, I just had something successful happen. I'm feeling this good success. The point is now to be mindful about that good feeling and stretch it out as long as you can. And if you feel that anxiousness or the worry or the, oh no, now I've got to do this because of the success, just push it away for a few minutes. Like actually do the opposite and say, I'm going to sit in the success and the happiness of this moment for just a minute longer and try and hold on as long as you can. And it's a muscle. You develop that muscle and you slowly raise that window of tolerance
and get more comfortable with it so it doesn't scare the bejesus out of you.
Yeah.
So like, oh
because
my God, success.
Yeah.
When's the other shoe gonna drop? It's not sustainable. It's gonna go away. Then you're afraid of like being heartbroken when it doesn't happen anymore. So again, we're just like living in fear. But to your point of the only way to get comfortable with fear is to also get comfortable with what the successes are and not diminish them. You can do 20 things awesome throughout the day, and you do one thing by like, oh, I called the cashier ma'am, and they clearly did not want to be called ma'am or whatever. And then you obsess over the one thing you didn't do instead of celebrating the 20 things that you rocked socks at.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there's something else he talks about in the book that has been really helpful for me, like walking through this, is that, and I've heard this before, but he says it in a really good way, that fear is just excitement without breath. Right. Because actually fear and excitement come from the same place in the body. It's the same hormonal response. It's the same exact trigger mechanism. It's how we interpret it that changes. Our brain is what messes up whether it's exciting or fearful, right? Our brain's like,
the brain does have a very powerful job to keep us safe. So that's why it's doing it. It's not just a dick, but it does keep us in that fear mode. I also think that jealousy is just insecurity. So if you're jealous of other people's and probably their outward version of success, let's be real. You can have a highly successful live show every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and LinkedIn called the Stone Fruit Roll-Up that you host. And everybody was like, oh my God, a live show, like how cool. But at the end and behind the scenes, you might be like, yeah, it's a lot of work for like 3 eyeballs. And I don't know if it's doing anything or not doing anything. So you're looking at people, you're judging your insides by their outsides and feeling jealous. That's just insecurity about your own ability to like go live with Taylor Kampia, which is a privilege and a pleasure. Kathleen wants us to know that she is going to tell herself that it's okay to be successful. She's a bigger fear of success than failure, but she is working on it. I would love to know what feels scary about success for Kathleen, because I do think that's impacting her life. My God, she's on fire. She's so good. She's so good. So
Yeah, I mean,
I enjoy the practice.
that's again, I mean, I can't stop talking about this book. And it's, Michael Gottlieb is the other person who I had a conversation with recently who quoted this
Okay.
book. And I was like, oh, I'm
He
reading that
loves
too.
books. He loves books. He
But this one,
really loves books. Yeah.
I'm telling you, because you'll start to see these patterns and and you'll start to actually have a little more grace for yourself. And that sort of, Kathleen, what you just said, just to remind yourself that it's okay to be successful. It's okay to be fearful. It's okay to have starts and stops and fits and moments. It's like just to remind yourself that you are on your own journey and it's okay and that's how you give yourself the like emotional freedom to find what it is that makes you happy when you're not constantly putting yourself down and constantly judging yourself and constantly trying to keep yourself small.
Another comfort I take, and I've talked about this before on the show, is this like profound moment I've seen in a video clip with Jack Black. So the interviewer, he's like, they're on the studio sound stage or whatever, and they're walking between the trailers, and the interviewer's like, Jack Black, what advice do you have for young people, creative people coming out today? And his answer was just be bad. Just be bad for a long time. Just own it. You're just gonna suck. There's no way around it. That's the only way to get good, is to be bad for a long time. And so I think if you just like own your I'm gonna be bad at it for a while era, and roll up and kind of come as you are mindset, and just be open and authentic to whatever the day is going to bring, like this super powerful conversation. It takes the pressure off of being like polished and perfect. And my God, if I had to be polished and perfect every single time I met somebody, and some might say I go a little too far down the spectrum, it would just hold me back from genuinely connecting with folks, because I'd be so worried about how I would be so aware of their perception. I'd be kind of more aware of their perception than anything else. So be like Jack Black, be bad for a long time, because it's really the only way.
I mean, I've given that advice to 2 people recently. One person is an adult who started a new job, and the other one's a young adult just started like getting into the workplace and starting an internship. And the advice is the same for both. It's like, take advantage of the fact that you're new. Everybody wants to help the new person. Nobody expects the new person to get it right. Like, we fail often, fail early, fail a bunch, get all the answers wrong, right? Because then number one, you only way you got to go and be really impressive once you do really well. But just be excited about the fact that you can ask questions and be vulnerable and not feel embarrassed about it, because this is like a great opportunity to go in and just be bad at your job. You're not supposed to be good at it yet.
Be bad at How long do you think I have a pass to say I'm new at something? A year? 2 years? I'm new here. That's like a Larry David bit. I'm just like, how long can you just claim you're new somewhere?
I was gonna say, I'm just like, or there's like some sort of like, metaphor, like the master is always a student, never is the, some sort of like.
All right, so we've expanded our definition of success, and we've expanded our minds, and we've expanded our compassion and capability. I'm still gonna go back to the 28 grams thing, because we are on our 420 episode, girl, and I still want to talk about weed. I still want to talk about it, because here we are. Yeah. I think that there is something that is profoundly impactful about the use of cannabis in creativity. And it is the ability to see things from a new perspective pretty much instantaneously. Where in my own personal example, if I'm writing a piece and I'm sober as I don't know, what's sober? Sober as a push pen.
I was going to say, not
And
a judge. We know that.
yeah, hello. And I'm sober as a push pen. That's our new expression. And I'm kind of approaching a piece of writing. The temptation to write it like it's expected to is so strong. And also sometimes it's just me and the screen like this, for just a really long time. However, if I have a little safety meeting, as we called it back in the restaurant days, immediately I have the idea, the entry, I see the play out and the follow through. I come at it from a different perspective. I'm able to write in a narrative that, maybe before would have been a little more technical. That's the joy that I'm getting out of creatives and cannabis on 420 and other days as well. Do you feel comfortable sharing some of your experiences in terms of creativity?
Yeah. I mean, I loved our conversation last year too, because I feel like we got super into like how it really helps with that creative process. And I think for me, I'm somebody who has chronic health conditions. I have two kids. I have a stressful life. There's just a lot going on. And so for me, it's about giving my body sort of that freedom of like not feeling pain, giving my brain that freedom to say, don't worry about the dishes, right? Giving
Yeah.
myself this sort of ritual and intentionality around I'm going from this place of, whatever it might be, pre-cannabis to like, okay, what am I using cannabis for? And I try to be intentional about it in that way and say, okay, why am I using it right now? Because I use it for different reasons at different times. And I think just even that saying, hey, I'm using it for sleep now, or I'm using it for this, or I'm using it to go hang out and have a good time. I think just being
You're so good about
intentional.
that. You're so good about that stuff. You're so intentional. You know exactly what's going on in your body. You understand a political framework behind the industry. You have compassion for people who've been, kind of abused within it or aren't getting fair treatment. You've got you know how things are. You know everything about it, and I'm just like, I don't know, like the Gen X suburban Pennsylvania 1984, like sticks and bones ragweed kind of joint rolling start like.
But see, but that's the beauty of it, right? Like, because I was that way before I, understood really about it. It's my personality type. I mean, that's why I'm good at my job, because when I get a little nugget of a piece of information, I want to keep exploring that information until I know everything about it. So if it's something that interests me or it kind of comes across my way, like I am going to dig into every facet of that topic. And if it's something, especially if it's something where there's a lot of my money or dollars behind it, I actually really want to understand where that money and dollars are going. And so, especially in the cannabis industry, there are still Black and brown people who are behind bars in many states in this country serving, ridiculous sentences for cannabis laws, while there are people making millions and millions and millions of dollars. So shout out to the Last Prisoner Project, who was working to help free those individuals. But, I think with me understanding the product and understanding like the terpenes and how my medical condition will be affected by different strains, and how to, which ones to use for sleep versus which ones to use for my ADHD versus anxiety. Um, that's great. And that's great that you can approach it that way. But if you want to just use it because it makes you feel good and it does great things for you, that's your journey. And that is awesome too. And I think that's what's so great about the plant, is that everybody can have their own experience with it. And if one doesn't work out for you, try something different. If smoking doesn't work for you, try topical. If that doesn't work for you, try a gummy, try, a tincture, try, there's all different types of things. So choose your
You
own
taught
adventure.
me. You've always taught me something about it. You taught me about cannabinoids, and now I'm able to easily identify creative energy types, which is what
Yeah.
I'm always looking for. So you've been a good influence on this good old fashioned Pennsylvania roots. stoner with up leveling how I can understand what we're doing. So, and always the freedom to just be me about it. And I love your observation that it's, there's a little something in it for everybody. It's
Yeah, but
so
it's not for everybody. And that's what I want to like, some people it doesn't work for them, right? And for those people, they probably look at us and they're like, you bunch of stoners, like, because they have an experience with it and they assume we're having a similar experience and yet still going about our daily lives. But like, I understand my body, I understand the levels, I understand the what I'm doing, right? And so, but it's not for everybody. And that's
it's
okay.
not for everybody. But if you are still here in minute 50 of the Stone Fruit Roll-Ups 420 episode, Stone Cute, Creatives and Cannabis Unite with Taylor Kampia, Kathleen in the comments, and me, your affable host, Rebecca Gunter, then you're probably interested in the conversation. So we'll make an assumptive close that everybody here, there's something for everybody here in our little microcosm of the world. Taylor, what are you working on next? What's next for you, girl?
So much. Like I said, we've got a lot of projects that we're doing with small businesses in Virginia. We have a short film premiere tonight. We worked with a bunch of teenagers in Fairfax County to create a public service announcement
How
to
cool is
combat,
that?
yeah, and it's to combat teen dating violence. And so this is particularly exciting because when I was in high school, I created a PSA and did some documentaries in high school, which led to now I'm doing this work as a career. So it was really cool to kind of work with the teens, inspire them, get some young ladies behind the camera and just, and so tonight it's gonna be really cool just to see that experience. It's even get to see
You
their work
you
on the
love
big screen.
you love working with teams and teens. I've noticed
Hmm.
there's a real mentorship into the way that you approach work. Oops. Look,
Well,
I'm scrolling through your website to add it to the stage, and I realized I did not actually add it to the stage. So folks, go to makeascenemedia.com and learn more about documentary style videos for agencies, brands, change makers, nonprofits, impact organizations, and bring this purpose driven campaign to your life with
what a
video.
beautiful motto. It's like we had a really great copywriter for this copy. I don't know where we found her. How did this
Oh,
happen?
oh my God. She is giving us life. Yeah, this looks great, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you guys. You're so cute. You're so cute. How can someone reach out to work with you?
Definitely go to our website. There's a contact form on there, but you can also send me an email at taylor@makeascenemedia.com. We're also on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Actually, our TikTok's blowing up, so you might want to just
Are you
join
for
right now.
real?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, first of all,
Heather
really,
goes viral every time. Every time we put a video of Heather, she goes viral. It's
are you
great. But no,
serious?
yeah, because we're trying to share some of our more like the impact pieces. So we're cutting up some of the videos we're doing for some of our like social justice clients, mental health clients, taking some of those key takeaways, putting them even shorter, and then releasing on TikTok, which I think it's really found an audience with the sort of more, social justice minded, community justice minded younger folks that are on TikTok.
First of all, I don't think it's just younger folks on TikTok.
True.
I am a huge proponent of TikTok and very, very nervous to see it being in such a in the crosshairs of the U.S. government for sure. I hope that the platform can retain its integrity. I have never seen a more powerful community building digital space ever. I have learned so much from it. It's an anthropologist's wet dream, and I'm thrilled that you guys are rocking it over there. I'm going to follow and engage with you immediately. I'm going to double tap every single Make a Scene vids and give the algorithm a little love. Do
But
you have
you
any
hit it with the algorithm. You hit it with the algorithm for TikTok, and that is, people want to learn something, and I think that's what's really cool about it. Is that you can learn anything you want. You can get into your little algorithm of some. I want to learn about deciduous trees in the forest.
Oh my
Oh,
God. I've learned about edible forest. Yeah, I've learned about edible forest. I learned how to regrow vegetables from kitchen scraps, which I'm currently doing on my windowsill right now.
I've
I'm
got
learning about
onions
it
going
last
right
year.
now.
I have a fennel going and it's so cute. It just has this like little frond. It's so cute. I learned a ton about autism when we were going through assessment for my kid. I've learned a ton about what's happening with women right now in the US and the falling marriage rates and birth rates and political responses and who owns everything. And it is definitely a pull back the curtain type moment. And for me, what I appreciate is first person POV, which takes us right back to you and your craft. And whether it's through kind of documenting transformation in photography or bringing stories to their full capacity of an emotional connection at Make a Scene Media, it's really about your unique POV. And I'm always so happy to have basked in it like I have for the last hour.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to tell you that I continue to be in awe of your dedication to the YouTube channel and the weekly episodes and the video making and the content creation. It is a slog, and you are doing it so well. And it's super impressive. So you should be really proud because it's
Thank you so much for that shout out, girl. It's really been because of you that I've had the confidence to just like turn on the screen and get it going. But I would be very, very remiss if I did not offer a shout out to Kathleen, who's helped me run the nuts and bolts of this show in terms of making sure the art happens and the episodes are scheduled, etc. And then willing to come on board anytime I asked her, so much that we invited Kathleen to be our co-host on the Stone Fruit Roll-Up. So that has been really cool to watch. Of course, the influence and impact from Tony Pareco, who has given us so many ideas for how to really make this very watchable content, which we're in the process of revamping and implementing. And our number one fan, Jill Mokes, who really helped us get off the ground in terms of putting a direction and putting something in front of audiences that people would like. And of course, you, Miss T. Of course, you, Miss T.
Jill's podcast. I mean, that's all of our inspiration, right? Like, I think we're all like trying to follow in her amazing trailblazing way, which is
I agree.
Really cool to watch that podcast.
I agree. Oh, and don't let me forget intergalactic intern Saturn.
Saturn,
who brings tons of energy to the show, tons of Jen's energy.
Tons of energy to any room they grace, because I very much, yes. We'll have to get this picture reveal.
Let us do it. Let's schedule. See, will you come back and be on the show and we'll do a picture reveal?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, that sounds great. You heard it here first. We'll be putting a link to anything and everything we talked about here within the show notes. So if you're watching this on the replay, make some comments, make some noise in the comments. Come back and see us next Thursday. We're doing a Stone Fruit Roll-Up / Business in the Raw mashup episode, which will be, that'll be cool. So we'll see us then. T, good luck on slaying the rest of your day, since you have podcasts to record and premieres to go to, and just keep on looking gorgeous. Kathleen, Tony, thanks for coming in the comments. We appreciate y'all so much. And friends, fruitsters, keep on rolling up. Thanks, baby.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.